Get down.
Let me clear my throat. Yeah. Oh, that's better. That's better. Somebody pass around the offering. Since I'm always preaching on tracks, you feel me? I'm not gonna get paid for it. Sermon of the day. You right where you supposed to be, baby. Informants informing, that information forming. Important you get a portion of fortune pouring. Confession, fortunately, blessings are not a snoring. You mellow, so focus on scoring. Got your underperforming. I never expect something, never assume nothing. Judging me for my past, but that's why I'm triumphant. I don't demand, I know where I stand like engineer hands. Watch how my life pans. That game plan, show out like a jota, pop out like a cutter. Telling the kick rock, skipping the course, squares like hopscotch. This gonna be my mood to my beat drop. Putting my boogie shoes and my diddy boots, ain't no stop. I'ma make the rest of my life live. Yeah, I'ma make the rest of my life live. Gonna make the rest of my life the best of my life. Yeah, I'ma make the rest of my life live. I'ma make the rest of my life live. Gonna make the rest of my life the best of my life. Congratulations on the celebration. I know I don't whip out a need of a validation. No congratulations on no celebration. I know I don't whip out a need of a validation. Yeah. If having hope is dangerous, call me evil Knievel. You leading on the wrong side, living with peasant needles. So lethal, made Shane Black wanna write a sequel. Cause I snuggle my dream till it's seen as illegal. And I still probably will, cause I can never give up. I got my goals calling me, how could I never pick up? Either we make up or just break up. And the snake hits, get the rake up. Yeah, selfish, I'ma cake up. If I don't shake me to wake up. Let my depression catapult me to succession. Shine a light on my imperfections like a projection. Every struggle a lesson, your issues ain't your oppression. Never got a question, keep pushing me to progression like I'ma make the rest of my life live. Yeah, I'ma make the rest of my life live.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Happy Thursday. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? I'm sorry, not sorry. You know, just had to rock out a little bit. You know how we do. How's everybody tonight? Happy Thursday. Welcome in. Welcome in. And welcome in once again. It is my favorite night of the week. Why? Because I get to spend these next 60, 90, 120 minutes with you and the Thursday night crew. And so, therefore, we are excited per usual and happy to be here. And where is here? It is on the greatest station, the best network in these YouTube streets, none other than the Bravo with Sheila Network. And we always pay homage to our Queen Bee, Pastor Sheila Ingram, who yields me this captain's chair every single Thursday night to come and spend this time with you. And who am I? You know me. I'm your girl, Lady Dawn B, a.k.a. Elder Dawn, a.k.a. Dawn, whatever you call me, however you know me by. Remember, we just put, see, I'm going to go to church. I'm saying amen. Whatever you know me by, however you call me by, as long as we keep it with respect, right? It's all good. So as you know, it is our usual Thursday night conversation that we are going to have. Tonight's going to be a little fun night. We're going to, flow with it. We're going to take it easy, make sure it's nice, light and breezy. We got the Thursday night squad coming in the building, and we're going to keep it easy. June has been an amazing month. I can't, how they say, I ain't going to hold you. The men, y'all put it down this month. June, it was all about the men, and they showed up, showed out, did their thing. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. So salute to the men. June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and so we have focused every week having a discussion geared towards men, about our men, and conducted from our men. And we've had amazing Black African-American authors on with us this month talking about some dynamic stuff. We started out with my friend, my guy, Melvin Phillips Jr., and his book, I'm Divorced Now What? It is an incredible book, and he will be coming back in July with some of the ladies that contributed to that piece of work known as the book, I'm Divorced Now What? Shared some real good information, and it's good to hear from our men. As you know, my motto for the Men's Lounge is, and for our men in general, is something happens when men speak. We don't always want to admit it, but ladies, we got to start giving our men their credit, their flowers, all of that. Their voices make a difference in everything that we do. Their voices make a difference in the world. So I'm always excited, even when I don't like to hear what they're saying, because it might be a little true, may hurt a little bit, just saying. But learn to just kind of take those hard gulps, and let our men speak, right? So we appreciate that. We started with Melvin Phillips, and then we moved over to the newest member, I'm so glad to say, of the Thursday Night Squad. You know him, you love him. His story was incredible. All right, he is in the person of Justin Wilson, who came on and taught. He showed us and spoke to us and shared his truth, his story, and showed us what courageous vulnerability looks like in real time. And again, it was a blessing. It was amazing to hear these stories from our men about their lives, their truth, they're sharing from their wells of experience, right? And that was just such a dynamic conversation. He's going to be back with us, but again, he's going to be here because he's part of the crew. You know what I'm saying? Had to kidnap him, fold him in, I'm glad I didn't have to hold him hostage, but he just came willingly, which is probably really good anyway, because I didn't want to have to football tackle him by the ankles just to make him be a part of the team. So I love that. But I love the space where he contributed. And so we salute him tonight also. And absolutely my brethren, my favorite Jamaican Canadian or Canadian Jamaican, my brother Gregory Bloomfield came in last week with the 522 man, teaching us what kind of man are you? So it has been incredible and amazing. They've been coming, they've been writing, they've been sharing. If you don't have their books, go get them. I promise you, we're going to post them up again. So I wanted to acknowledge what we've been doing this month. Ladies, I'm encouraging you to continue doing what you're doing. And if you have not started, make sure that you take time this month to pause, check on the men in your life, do something special for them, whether it's bring them a cup of coffee, send them lunch, take them out wherever they want to go. Maybe just go sit, do something that doesn't require them to be in charge, to be in control. Let them have a moment to relax, to breathe, to get some air, because we need our men, right? So we're going to come out of our comfort zones, ladies, and we're going to treat our men the way that we want to be treated. I'm a firm believer men deserve roses, flowers, candies, and trips just like we do. Or whatever it is that they like, they deserve it just like we do. It doesn't have anything to do with them being less of a man or us in our masculine energy, so to speak. It has everything to do with showing gratitude, concern, and care for the men in our lives. So with that being said, I want to shout out some people in the comment section. And as we do, I'm going to start with the greatest moderator to ever do it in these YouTube streets. She belongs to us. She is in the person of Inania Kenya. She is in the building on tonight. She's saying, hey, Bravo Nation, and showing me some love. Hey, good to see you, sis. Thank you for always being on your post and letting no one knock you off your square. That's right. She's ours and she ain't going nowhere. We will fight for her. Okay. And while I'm saying that, one of the number one rules over here on the Bravo Sheila Network, when we are having these conversations, we're not coming in as experts, although some of us are licensed and certified as counselors, therapists, and all that good stuff. And if you need that, we do have that to provide. But when we come on Thursday nights, we just put our titles to the side and we come in as real people having real conversations to offer some real resolutions, some practicums that we can walk away with. We are trying to grow as individuals so that we can show up better for each other. So with that being said, the number one rule we have here is respect. And when we find respect is displayed in the comments or even on the panel, fortunately, but unfortunately, we will have to remove you from the space. And our wonderful moderator, Indonesia Kenya, guess what? She has no problem pushing that button. So we ask you to please don't make her have to push the button. We want you to stay. We want you to stay and we want you to have a good time. We don't want to have to escort nobody out the building because there is security in the house at all times. So just work with us tonight, okay? We appreciate you. I know I said I was going to be toxic this year, and I've been doing a pretty good job. But I'm good toxic. I'm the toxic that helps you get cleansed. So, let me do my job. Let me fulfill my purpose for 2025. I appreciate y'all. So I appreciate you if you stay respectful so we can all keep it respectful. And we love it when you are. So we want to say hello to everyone tonight. The squad is loaded up in the galley. I'm going to bring them up in 2.2 seconds. But I want to welcome everyone in on tonight. And for those of you who are in the expensive seats, as we call it, in the silent section, in the upper echelons, you paid that good price, to be in that special box. We invite you to come on down to the comment section. Come on, I promise you, it's safe down here. Come in and say hello so that we can greet you. Be a part of the nation, be a part of the family. We want to greet you properly. Just say hello. Your voice, your thoughts, your opinions are welcome here. We ask again, everyone to just do so respectfully. Whatever your moral compass is, that's what you rely on and share. if you don't mind. I say it all the time. My moral compass is God. Most of us that are here on the platform are believers, but we are open to everyone. Thoughts, feelings, opinions. Again, whatever your moral compass is, we welcome it respectfully here. We just ask that everyone remain respectful. But for me, it's God. So, I'm a God's girl. So you're going to get a little Jesus with me every single time. So just so we're aware. But y'all know that already. So with that being said, if you're up in the silent section, please come on down, say hello. I just want to say hi to you back and greet you properly. And I do see in the comment section on tonight, that's right, my brethren, Gregory Bloomfield in the building. Welcome, brethren. Welcome. It's a salute to you, Lady Dawn B and the Bravo family. Good to see you, brother. Thank you so much again for being on with us last week. And I can't wait to get you and your counterpart, your 100 plus 100 ladies and gentlemen on to come and share with us some more. Y'all go and get his book. Also in the building on tonight is Patrick Riley. Hello, Mr. Hello, Patrick. Hello, Patrick. Good to see you. Glad you made it on tonight. I'm glad you're in the building. All right now. And y'all forget, let me stop playing and put my glasses on, okay? Y'all know how I get. We ain't gonna be cute with it. We're gonna be cute with the glasses, okay? All right. So good evening, Mara 57 now for sure. Okay now. Okay. She says, hello everyone. Glad you are here in the house on tonight. And I hope you guys are enjoying this space. All right, y'all pray my eyes. These are older eyes. They're not as, they're not as young as I am. But we won't talk about that right now. That's another story for another time. Y'all know I don't have no sense. Well, I do. It just don't add up to $1. It don't all come together all at the same time. We got Sir E in the building saying good evening to all. We're going to bring them up right soon. And Nate is giving, that's right. Y'all don't make a Nate do it. Oh, the world stops when this lady comes in the building. Why? Because that's my mama, y'all. I am her 404. I'm the last good thing that she pushed out. Thank you, Lord. You see, there was nothing else that came after me. I shut it down. So we pay honor to my mama, literally, Pastor Rosa. Y'all know her as Mama Rosa. She's Pastor Rosa. She says, good evening, everyone. Have a great show. Just dropped back to lend my support and cast my vote. Oh, okay. We should have had Mommy up here doing refereeing and all that. We got my girl Theo in house saying hello. Patrick is laughing at me. Yeah, well, Patrick, welcome. You're about to, you'll see. And we got my good sis Taryn is in the building. She says evening all, and I love it. And we got my girl, I call her Gumdrop. She is in the person of Natasha Petty Swinton. That is my counterpart. Y'all gonna find out why right soon. So with all of that having been said, and I have greeted everyone in the house, we are going to go ahead and bring up our crew on tonight because they are ready. They are loaded, and I hope y'all are ready too. So since it's Men's Month, I'm gonna start with the men since we're wrapping it up tonight. It's the ladies' room versus the men's lounge. We're gonna have a little game time, a little fun. We're going to get it on and popping. We're going to keep it real. Y'all know how we do on Thursday nights. Anything is possible. So this is unscripted on tonight. Okay. All right. See, look at it. There she go. I call her Gumdrop. She calls me Baby Bop. That's our nicknames. That's we get along. We get along. Y'all about to find out why. Hey, girl. Hey. So with this, I'm going to bring him up first. Because he ain't been here in a minute, but I appreciate him. Y'all know him. Y'all love him. I gotta pause. Eric says, hi, wifey. Talking to, Natasha. I gotta make sure this is my favorite couple, y'all. I gotta make sure. So, we got to give the respect where respect is due. So, with that being said, the first person I'll bring up tonight, y'all know him. Y'all love him. He's no stranger, although he's been missing for a minute, but he got it together. He's back with us tonight. You know he is none other than, that's right, my big brother. You can't say it no different. Okay, now look, y'all gonna have to get a room in a second. Now she's talking about, hey, Smoochie. All right, look. Y'all gonna have to text each other. It's not this. I love the love. That's my family, y'all. That's my family. So you know him, you love him. He is nothing than Mr. Rockology, my big bro. What's poppin'? What's good, big bro? What's happening? How you doing? You on mute. You are on mute, sir.
Nothing much. What's up, big baby sis? Nothing much. Chilling. Nice
Right.
to be back.
It's good to see you back. How you say? What you say? What say about I
I'm
can't
off punishment.
you off punishment, right? you served your time and now you're free, right?
Yeah. I was sidelined for a minute. The coach pulled me out. Now they throwing me back in.
All right. You must have earned your way back. So we good. We
What's up,
happy.
E? What's up, Big E?
I love it. I love it here. I hope y'all love it here too. You do. I know you do. Don't worry about it. So I'm gonna ask y'all why you loving it here. Yo, hit that like button, hit that thumbs up, take a pause right now if you don't mind. Just go hit that thumbs up button, and like, subscribe, and share. It is free 99 for you, but it means everything to us because it helps to push these wonderful conversations out into the YouTube streets. Now, welcoming bro in because like I said, he's been away for a minute, but now he's back. So we're gonna try to make sure he don't get on punishment no more. So next up is the newest.
About 3 weeks since I've been on.
Yeah, man. We ain't gonna count it. Next up, want to bring up this guy who I've grown to. I love and appreciate. He is new to the squad. He's new to the team, but listen, he ain't new to life. He got some experience, wrapped up in there, and I'm so glad he's here to share. He keeps it real, and I love that because we do real here. We don't pull no punches. We keep it straight. He was on 2 weeks ago sharing from his book, Courageous Vulnerability. It was an amazing discussion. Can't wait to have him on. He's coming back to spotlight and share again from more of his book. But tonight he's in here for game night for us to chill, relax, have some fun so you can get to know him some more. That's right, y'all. We have the Justin Wilson in the building. What's good, Justin? How you doing?
I'm okay. Happy to be back.
All right, good to see you. We were glad to have you back. We was holding the circle for you. We was holding your circle for you.
Thank you so much. I fell asleep last week. I ain't gonna even tell you no stories. I fell asleep and woke up like so. Yeah, I had to get here today.
It's all right. You allow three absences. Now here we have the greeter in the building. He's greeting everybody today. Eric saying, "Welcome back, Justin."
Mr. Eric in the building.
You know what I'm saying? Not like he was just sitting right next to you a minute ago. But it's okay. We gonna let him be the Bravo usher tonight. He's the usher. You go to church. Last but not least of the men folk, I got to give it to y'all tonight. I'm just happy to see y'all. We have, him, you have learned his voice, and you will continue to hear it even all the more. This is my dude, my guy, my friend, and then some. We share a lot of things. The most important thing that we share is a child, even, I'm just saying. So we know each other pretty well. No, he is in the person of, that's right, he is the husband of the Natasha Petty Swinton, and I was telling them to go, y'all gonna need a room in a minute, Team Smoochie and all
they
that.
Something.
Right, hi wifey. I'm like, listen, I ain't mad at your love. I'm not mad. Okay, keep black love alive. I'm just saying. But you know him, you love him, and he is here to share his opinion. He is in the person of Sir Eric, is what I call him for these purposes. What's popping, E?
Not much, just chilling.
Not much, just chilling. That's not much, just chilling.
Okay, like
bro, man.
He's in Debo mode tonight. He's in Debo mode. Okay, we see that. So we got the men in the building, but I want to bring up, her, you love her. She is such a beautiful flower. She is my sis, one of my co-writing partners. Oh, Lord Jesus, here we go. I got to do it. She says, hey, handsome. Here we go.
Hi, baby.
Okay.
Look, we ain't doing this right now.
You already did it. You already
did it.
I know.
Already done. We all gonna bring others in. How about that? We gonna start bringing ours too. Okay. If we don't have one, we gonna find one. We gonna make it. Even we just gotta borrow somebody for the night. Just borrow. I didn't say pay them. I'm just saying borrow. Let them pretend. But right now, we gonna bring up to the platform my girl, my sis. You know her, you love her. She always comes with a great insight and perspective, and she is none other than my sis, my writing partner, I don't know what else I can say about her. Just a beautiful flower and awesome gem. And the person of the Coach Theo is in the building on tonight. What's poppin', sis?
Hey, good evening,
What's
everyone. I was counting, Rock. So you have one more week.
Was gonna send a search party out for him, right?
Theo was like, play if you want to. You got one more. You only got one more. Okay. How we doing tonight, Theo?
I'm good. How's everybody else?
Good.
Excellent.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So as always, thank you, Thursday Night Crew, for being in the house. You know, I got to give y'all your props and your roses, you know, while we can. I'm always going to celebrate y'all. And that's why I love taking the time to honor them and just introduce them to the world. For those who don't know who they are, this is your Thursday night with Lady Dawn B, Bravo Nation Squad. Okay, so get used to it because the next 6 months are gonna be real. You thought the first 6 months was good. The next 6 months of the year is gonna be even better. So on tonight, what we want to do is we wanted to have a little fun. I didn't want the month with us. I didn't want to end the month. I'm hearing an echo somewhere. Okay. I didn't want us to end the month on such a serious note. We had a great month. June has been amazing, and it has been great. The men have shared, and like I said, I got to give it to y'all. Salute, fellas. Y'all was holding it down all month long. Y'all came with the heavy content. Y'all put it out there in the business. I had people sending me questions and asking about y'all. I said, well, dang, you ladies, you know, okay. It might just have to be the men all the time. I don't know. You know, y'all need to speak up some more because it was almost like, what, men are talking for real? It's like, yeah. They're like, oh, let me find out. So it's a beautiful thing. And I appreciate each of you lending your voices. But on tonight, we're gonna flow freely with it. So I wanted us to have a little fun. And normally when we do versus the ladies' room versus the men's lounge, it gets very intense and very passionate, you know, because we start attacking a issue, not each other, but an issue from both sides. But tonight we're gonna have a little fun with it. Tonight's topic, I was saying, is who does that? You know, there are things that happen to us that happen in our presence, that happen that is those things that make you say, like, who does that? Why would you do it? Like, just trying to understand the logic of some people and trying to understand the logic of some things. I'm sure we have all, can y'all agree we've all been in situations? Can you think of a situation that has caused you to say, who does that?
Of course.
Okay, so we've all been there, right? So in a relationship, can you give me one thing that would happen that would cause you to question your spouse, your partner in that way? And the reason why we want to kind of play this game this way is because sometimes we do things so carelessly or without thought, you know, because we're just moving in our own lane, not considering the fact that there's a whole nother person, whether it be your husband, your wife, your man, your woman, whatever it is. But we do some things to one another and to ourselves that cause our spouses to question our partners. Like, who does it? Why would you do that? Who does that? You know, what was you thinking? And it causes you to start thinking, just when I thought I knew you, you come and do something that makes me question the very existence of our relationship. Like, who am I with? Okay, am I the only one? Is it just me?
I'm sorry, because when you saying that, stuff just started popping in my head about my wife that I can't really say on this stream.
It's too late now. You already started.
You already started.
No,
Tasha, okay, Tasha, do you want me to take
man up?
Right.
up.
Back the hey handsome and the hey smoochy? You want me? You might be
all that handsome and moochy stuff about to go out the window.
Exactly. He brought himself to tears.
right. So
Yeah.
So you know, I feel the spirit. I feel the spirit. And I feel led to start with Eric. I just feel the spirit. I feel it. You know, anybody else feel it in the room? You just feel the spirit, right? We just need to start with Eric. Look at Rock is in worship.
All right. Okay.
So, E, let me hold on. Let me set it up. Let me set it up for you so that. Wait, I'm talking to a customer. What did I miss? Nothing. You didn't miss this. Nothing. But I want to set it up, Eric, so that way you're not in like 100% trouble, maybe 99.9% trouble, so that you just need a little bit to try to save yourself with. I'm only going to give you the point one. The point, that's all. So, E, can you think of anything that may happen in a relationship space or even in a marriage that would cause you to question your spouse and be like, who does that? Tell us.
Yes. Okay.
Do tell.
Yeah. No, I'm going to start with this one. She has an alarm set that goes off at a certain time for her to get up for work. There you go, Rock. Yes. So what happens when that alarm goes off? You're supposed to get up. She doesn't get up right away. She wants to hit the snooze button. I get up at 9:30. She's supposed to get up an hour later, probably like maybe 10:30. So when her alarm doesn't go off again and she comes out in the living room, she's like, why did you come back there and check on me to wake me up? I said, you have an alarm for that. Oh, well, my alarm didn't go off. I must have shut it off instead of hitting the snooze. And I said, see, there you go. But who does that? You do. Because when my alarm goes off, I get up. And I sat there. I stood there. I think it was day before yesterday. I stood there watching her. Her alarm went off. Here she go. Around, hitting the button. Iron my clothes. Alarm goes off again. Take me to the king. That's her ringtone to go off. Take me to the king. So here she go. Yeah, because she says I'm not you. But
we see. Don't worry. We got you. Go tell your story, sir. Tell your story.
It's loud enough to wake you up. It's loud enough to wake anybody else in the house up. I can hear it in the living room, but you don't get up on time. But then you want to rush. Talk about, oh my God, I'm gonna have to take an Uber to work now. You wouldn't have to do this if you would have got up on time.
Okay, so I'm gonna save you. I'm gonna pause you right there. I'm gonna save you just a little bit. No,
she's good.
So hey, y'all don't live in my house, so I ain't worried about it. You know what I'm saying? I
ain't scared of you.
That's not what I'm saying at all. That's not what I'm saying.
No, I'm talking about her. I ain't scared of her.
Listen, okay, you'll just keep digging yourself deep. Men's Month it started off so good.
And it's still good.
Eric, don't take it there. She said boo.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is this is a situation of, and again, it's just for us to consider some of the things that we do that may seem off to one another, just for a little fun tonight, and she made a good point. She said, I'm not you. So it sounds like more or less it's a situation of what her process is, what her system is that doesn't match with your system,
right.
Because you move differently, right?
Right. Of course.
So because you moved, it doesn't mean one is right and one is wrong, but this is one of the things that we have to think, simple things that most people really would not talk about and bring up, but they're real stuff because day after day, if you think about it, you got to get up for work 5 days a week and it repeats, 4 weeks out of the year. So by the 10th day, you're in week number 2, you know what I'm saying? You like, look, how many times you gonna just set the real alarm that you need so that when you just get up the one time, but that's not how everybody functions, so this speaks to us learning acceptance of each other and adjusting to each other's systems and processes, which is not so easy. Does anybody want to share anything on Eric's situation?
Well, I was kind of thinking that it's her system. And it's her system.
Yeah, I know.
So when you know that she might potentially be late because she done hit the snooze too many times, it would be nice of you to say, hey, babe, don't you want to get up? Right? Rather than just let her keep hitting the snooze.
You gotta let her, Eric, you gotta let her land.
right?
Yes.
So that's what came to my mind. Like, it's her system, but you know it's her system. But instead of helping her out a little, you let her be late.
Really?
And anyone
Now you know that's gonna be an argument.
just to share from the male side?
Wait a minute. I don't let her be late.
Listen, I had to help her out. I had to help my sister out. I had to help her out.
We gotta come a little bit better than that.
Listen.
Come on,
What's
Rob.
the saying? What's the saying? We love an on-time God, right? Right?
He ain't God.
Well, we're not talking about God. God is in a whole another atmosphere.
We love an on-time God.
God card. The God
We
card.
love an on-time God. We should love an on-time alarm that goes off to get you up in the morning to go take your shower, get dressed, and get out.
Listen, I tried.
You reach it, Eric. You cannot put.
I am not reaching.
The reason is because you say you serve an on-time God. However, God doesn't operate in time. He's not limited. It's only
Oh
us.
my goodness,
So
really?
I'm just saying, there's just a little Bible lesson right in there. Welcome in. Y'all give some salute and some love to Pastor Sheila, who is the curator and the queen bee of the Bravo with Sheila Network. Hey, Auntie Bravo, we love you. She says, blessings, everyone. It is good to see you. Rock, Justin, do you have any advice, help? You got a lifeline you could throw out to your brother to help him in this matter?
No, I totally concur with him because I have the same issue.
Oh, okay, well, we gonna wait for Rob. What you said, Justin? Wait, go ahead. Wait, hold on. Go ahead, Rob. You said you in the same situation.
But mine go a little further than that. My wife got alarms going off like 6:37, right? And these alarms are still going off, and she ain't work no more. And they still go. I'm like, why you got these alarms set? And I gotta get up, turn off the alarm, look for her phone, look for her. I'm like, why? What is it? And then, I just don't get it. I was like, and this is for years. This years. Like, why is the alarm going off at this time again? It's my alarm. It's my phone. Leave it alone. Correction. I'm like, geez. So I'm agreeing with him.
Okay. So you have one person on your side. Justin, what say you? Do you have anything you can help your brothers out with? The lifeline, phone a friend, anything?
I guess the only thing I can really, oh my god, the only thing I
see
can
the alarm's going off now. See?
That is not an alarm.
It was on here.
I get up 4 o'clock every morning, and what I was doing when I was in this situation to have someone to wake up is I would ask a very specific time because it's the same thing, and I'm like, what time do you want me to wake you up? My alarm clock goes off. Okay, but what time do you want me to wake you up when your alarm clock don't wake you up? That way I can avoid the wrath of waking her up because she told me to wake up at that time. So maybe that'll help. But these brothers got a lot more experience than I got, I assume. So, that's just what I think, but I could be learning.
Justin.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you. We are giving, we're helping here. We're here to help. We're here to help because we want to keep Black love together. We want to keep Black love loving.
No, we stand together.
That's not the
I know.
You want to keep this.
Trying to keep it peaceful. No,
it's peaceful.
My response or my little 2 cents in here would simply be,
here we go.
As Theo said, don't
blame Theo. You saying it? Go ahead.
No. Y'all know I stand 10 toes down all the time. I'm just saying. Okay, I owns mine. All right. But as Theo said, but you knew what you were getting when you got it. So, my thing is this. Although it may cause you to question, like, who does that? Why do you do this every single day? My thing is, like, you can't complain about what you committed to. Because you do. See that pause? That was a beautiful moment. That was just beautiful. It just happened.
Oh, no, you do not want to know the thoughts I said I was committed to. You don't want to hear those thoughts. That's for 8:30.
We got a little bit. We got a little bit. But
I don't even want to know.
but for it's a good thing. See, and Tasha, I got you. She says exactly. But how often do we do that though? No, seriously, the things that we question when we're saying like, who does that? When somebody that we know and we're so close to responds or reacts or moves in a way that does not fall in line with our system. And sometimes that causes a great conflict in relationships because a person can then become offended, right? I mean, you know, for right around, they have their systems. You could feel that the person is attacking you or picking on you. Like, why all of a sudden now are you bothered because my alarms go off, you know, every 10 minutes and I don't get up? Maybe that's just how that's how I'm used to. They've been going off all this time. We're not new to each other. You know, this is a conversation. I hope, you know, y'all can see somewhat unfolding, you know, because of the way that we address the things that cause us to question, you know. I know I'm constantly asking myself, who does that? But, you know, mine's is because of my son. He's a special candidate. I got so many stories that I started writing a book called Chronicles of a Boy Mom, okay? Because there's some stuff like, who does that? Like, who sets the garbage can in school on fire? Who does that? Why?
Oh, flashbacks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because you're mad about something that happened on the way to school that had nothing to do with the people in the school. You know, like, who does that? These are who does their questions. These are I've been through some things, y'all. I've been through some things. I'm just saying. So I want to read this to you guys too. So the phrase "who does that" is most often used as a rhetorical question because we already know. We know. It don't make not a bit of sense. So we know what we asking already, but you're trying to find a reason, right? It's a rhetorical question expressing incredulity or disapproval at an action. It implies that the action is so absurd, strange, or offensive that it is difficult to believe anyone would do it. It can also be a straightforward question about who is responsible for a particular action. Well, we know our usage of the phrase "who does that" is not the latter part, but it's the part of the fact that it implies that the action is so absurd, strange, or offensive that it's difficult to believe anyone would do it. Now, we've all goodness gracious, hold on before we move on. Look who's in the building. It's Vaughn, the Invisible Band. Eric saying blessings all. You know, he puts all the L's so no one gets left out. What's popping? Vaughn, Eric, that's my arch nemesis. He and I fight on the regular. But, you know, it's all love. It's all love. So, getting back to Eric's scenario, in his case, I think that we should think about how we work through, how we navigate accepting someone else's systems and processes that don't match with ours, you know, and how do we address that? How do we make sure that while we can, because I think it comes from a good place, right? When you talk about an alarm clock, something so simple, you want the person to get up, you want them to be on time, you want them to get to where they're going. I don't think sometimes we who do these actions also have to consider how it's affecting the people that we are with, because no one wants to deal with this every day as you're waking up late and then running, scrambling, knocking everybody else out of the way, you know, to get to where you got to get to and do what you got to do. So it becomes stressful for everybody. So I think that we should consider how we work through and how we navigate those spaces of having different processes and systems, but still having to be in the same house. Welcome in, Monica. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us on tonight. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. And if you don't mind, everyone, just hit that thumbs up button. Please like, subscribe, and share if you can. Please, sir, please, ma'am. I am your Thursday night host, Lady Dawn B. We are here on the Bravo Sheila Network. We got the ladies' room versus the men's lounge. We just having a good little conversation, some light fun on tonight. talking about the question, who does that? The things that happen to us or that we see and exposed to that cause us to question sometimes their sanity, their way of thinking, their way of doing things, and how we navigate that space. So, who's next? Who wants to share something good next? Justin, you look.
Oh my God.
So I was in a situation where I was repeatedly, I don't want to say getting in trouble, but disapproved of because I wasn't picking up on the cues for things that were being asked for, but weren't being asked for. And it's like, why don't you just communicate and say what you want? And I used to always wonder, like, who does that? Like, just say it. Like, we built this on communication and you're not communicating, but you're mad at me for not answering a question you didn't ask.
Hmm.
Exactly.
That's a good one. That is a really good one. Expecting a man, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna
Read
put
your
it
mind.
I'm gonna put it that way because it is typically us women who do that. Literally expecting a man to answer a question we did not ask. Now, I'm guilty of that myself because I'm expecting you to read my attitude. I'm expecting you to, and not that it's fair. Oh, okay, Patrick, you agree. Oh, he agreed in capital letters and with the 100. That's
With
what
100% right.
you know what I'm saying? Okay, Patrick. You know what? I ain't mad at you because you are allowed to share. You are allowed to share your truth and whatever your moral compass is because this is a safe space and we respect everyone's thoughts, feelings, and opinions. I just felt it was a little strong in the capital letters, but he's saying it from his chest. He's saying it with his heart. But that's a good point. Like women, we do, like you said in that situation, it was boggling to you because the relationship or that space that you built, you said was built on communication, right? So it's like what changed that caused you now to start speaking sign language and leaving like cryptic, messages that you're supposed to figure it out. I know with women as we are, sometimes for me, I can only say for me, um, when I find myself in that space, it's usually because I either don't know how to ask you or I want to see how well you know me. And women, we do that a lot. We do expect men to read our minds instead of us using our words. And then when you don't, we do get mad. Right. And it's one thing if we always had communication problems. But if, like you said, the relationship or that space is built on communication, then what has happened that all of a sudden you expect me to be in my read? Because as a man, I'm sure you're flowing in what you guys have built, like saying, well, if she wanted something, she'd ask me for it. Or the burning question is when y'all see we have an attitude and you're like, I don't know why you're mad. Right? Like, why are you mad? And what's our answer? I'm not mad. And even us saying, I'm not mad.
Yep. Lie on top of it.
And we know we're mad. So y'all will try again and be like, well, you seem mad. And now we get madder because y'all are like, but you look mad. And you seem mad, like you're not sounding mad. Like I can tell you, man, I said I'm not mad. I already told you I'm not mad. Stop asking me if I'm mad because I already said that I'm not mad. But now I'm mad because you're asking me again, right? Is that what happens? Is that how that? Am I right?
Yeah, that's about right. And I don't know how to fix that. Like we could have avoided this argument if you would have just said what you wanted. Just say it. I love you. I can tell you what
So,
you want.
so is it that the question wasn't asked, or was it the way it was asked?
Come
And like,
on.
I just
It was
need
not.
more
It
information.
there may have been a, a silent implication, or she may have felt she gave a silent implication. But yeah, just say like the thing is
But
in the
nothing was
beginning.
verbalized. Nothing is.
No, it wasn't verbalized. And my thing is I say up front, like after I had 13 years and it didn't work out. So for me, communication is a high priority. And I'm like, listen, I don't want to play the guessing game. Just tell me what you want. I'll figure other things out, but if you actually want something that is going to lead to an attitude and an argument, just say it. I promise you, I will tell you what it is. And yeah, it didn't work out that way. And yeah, so we ain't together no more. So,
And even when you play the guessing game, they switch it up anyway.
right.
You will say that's not it.
Yeah,
Now,
50 Shades
we've
of
been
Grey
here
has a
this
script.
long. I've known you this, and I don't know what's going on. Come on now, stop.
Yeah.
They switch
The
it up.
mov-
They
the
switch it up.
movies-
So I'm like Justin. I don't do it no more. If you don't come straight out and ask me, I'm good. I don't play no more.
I mean, I would have to like I can't say anything. Like I agree. Like with you guys. Like,
Theo, as a woman, have you ever done that? Monica is cracking up. Sis, listen,
have I ever done that? I'm either going to ask the question, or I'm just gonna think about whether or not I really want to know the answer or is it important to me, and just not ask anything. But I'm not gonna get an attitude if I take that recourse, right? If I decide on myself that this ain't even worth going into, right? But I'm normally going to ask the question. It's rare that I am not going to ask the question unless it's because I'm a big believer of don't ask questions that you really don't want to know the answer to.
Me too.
Because
That's right.
Because you already really know the answer.
Right.
So,
Some questions you ask, you already know the answer.
exactly. So I'm a big believer in like, okay, I really want to ask this question because I probably know the answer and I probably know what this is going to lead to. Right. So yeah. But I'm sure that's my perspective. I'm sure if you were to ask someone I was dating, they might feel otherwise.
Okay.
Look at Justin.
What you do?
I got nothing on that one. I respect Coach too much. I got nothing on that one.
Come on, we come to speak real. We come to keep it real here. You ain't got to hold back. Put it out there.
No, like she said, somebody else may feel something different. And I don't know. Like I said, maybe I do the same thing. I don't really ask too much, so I don't know how I would. But again, it's one of the things where just talk. Let's have a conversation, please.
Yeah.
I love conversation, so I'm absolutely fine with it. I try my best to make sure I've created a space where communication is open. I do believe in proper argument, so we can argue. We don't have to be disrespectful. So like all of that stuff is a setting that I've created. So when we get to that place where you wanted this bag, but you didn't say you wanted this bag, like just say you want the bag. Especially you want a $3,000 bag. My book ain't sold that many copies yet, so I'm gonna have to work on that. Talk to me.
But
You want so I can work it. Right?
But I will also say, I think also some of how I communicate also is a reflection of the work that I do. Because remember, I work in human resources, right? So I tend to think things through more and be outright and want to have a conversation. And because I believe the breakdown in most situations, whether they're intimate situations, friendships, at work, all come back to communication.
That's true. What came to me, Justin, when you were talking about and it's a real thing. We do have to learn how to communicate better. And again, I've done it. I've been in that space knowing I'm mad about something and I'll be quiet and my whole energy can change a room, knowing that. So when I already know, the person I'm with is going to, because in order for you to even be with me, like you have to know me. I would never date someone who does not know me. I'm not going to get in a committed situation until I feel like you know enough of me so that there's no surprises, so to speak. There'll be little things you got to learn along the way. But, you can't take your time. But what came to me was actually the title of your book, which is, being courageously vulnerable, because in order to have those heart, and it came to me about having hard conversations. Sometimes it can be the simplest thing, but it can be such a hard conversation for us to have. I know for me, if I'm mad and you question me and I know I'm mad and you're like, well, what's the matter with it? I'm not mad. For me, I'm going to tell you straight away why I would respond that way is because it would be out of a prideful place, because I didn't want to admit that whatever it was that was making me mad got the best of me. That's one thing. So, that's something we got to think about. And this is just to help us to understand.
Or that we were right.
Or that you were right. I struggle.
Yeah. You struggle with that one.
Hey, fellas, I'm going with that more than anything else. Yeah. They don't want you to be right about how they feel now.
But is it about right or wrong?
Well, the thing is,
no, but that's the perception that's taken when in that scenario. That's the perception. If it's right, people get upset when man. People get mad. They get upset.
Shut up, Eric. Because it's true. But the crazy thing about that, the caveat of it is that I don't want you. This is gonna be so stupid. I don't want you to know that much. I'm mad that you know that much about me, but I want you to know that much about me. Mm-hmm. This is what happens.
I can't, sis. No, that.
No, sometimes, but I'm saying this is what happens sometimes. I'm mad that you know that I'm mad, but I want you to know that I'm mad, but I'm also upset because some of us, we put on these masks and we keep ourselves guarded and covered. So then when you're with someone that learns you and knows you and starts seeing your vulnerability without you having to say it. Like Rock said, I don't want to know that you are right. I don't want to tell you you're right because I'm mad. But I want you to know that I'm mad. I want you to see that I'm mad without me telling you that I'm mad. And I know that is crazy, but ladies, if we are honest, we know that is how we function. Not all, but that's how some of us function, because that's why then we struggle with sharing after that. Like now I got to own up to the fact that he knows I'm mad. And now you broke through this first barrier. You broke through my wall, and now I have to I have to tell you why I'm mad.
See what Natasha said? That's it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're just like, I need time to process this.
Okay, but then if
yeah, but process.
Let me read it. She said, sometimes you're trying to get your thoughts together and truly say what you mean and not speak from anger or emotionally. And that may be true. But in that case, and if that's the case, the best thing to do in those spaces of communication is say that. Instead, and a lot of us won't admit that I need, I need a minute.
I need a minute, right?
Instead of that, we'll just be like, we give our knee-jerk answer of no, and I'm fine. No, and daggone well, you not fine. Like, sis, you just screamed, I'm fine. Like, and he whispered, how are you? You know what I'm saying? So you're already reacting out of anger or emotion.
But it's like Justin said, right? I feel like, especially now, right? Probably even more so now, but and like I said, just because of the work that I do, right? I feel like you have to set the rules of engagement. Right? Like, if we have a disagreement, how are we going to resolve that? All right? If you know your partner and you know that your partner might need time to process it, but you want to just head on deal with it right then, you guys have to decide that, hey, you know how I operate, so you need to give me 5 or 10 minutes to just like really take some time to think about it or whatever, and then let's come back and discuss it. Rock got his finger up. So what's that? What you say? No, right?
Because I'm gonna say this.
Go ahead.
It's funny because when people are saying what they're saying, they don't need time to process. But when somebody else is saying something, now all of a sudden they need time to process.
Well, that's true.
That's true.
Now, and I think sometimes, personally, I ain't worried about nobody biting my head off, but I think sometimes I need time to process, and sometimes it's just overrated. People just don't. They ain't got
But
nothing
look at
to
what
say.
but look at what Renee said, right? Sometimes you need someone that's going to understand that. I just let's sit in silence for a minute, right? And
Okay, well,
then
let's read her whole comment. Go ahead.
I need someone who can sit in silence with me until I can communicate it or work up the courage to share it.
But
No, I'm not disagreeing with that. But what I'm saying is, I want to see that on the flip side as well. I don't want you to go all in, and then when I'm trying to say something, well, I need time.
But
For
that's
what?
where communication comes in. That's where you express to your partner, like, listen, this has to be a mutual thing. Like, it can't just be
That's what I'm
one sided.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
and I think
You
so.
just went
That's
on
where
me,
setting the
and then
rules.
now it's
That's
my
where the
turn to
rules of
talk. Now you
engagement
need
come
time to
in.
process.
But this also comes down to, like Justin said, and also like Theo was commenting about. Justin said he believes in fair arguments. You know,
Yes, they got to be fair.
so this is, I believe that this is a
Mhm.
connection to that. Like, we got to learn how to keep it fair. Like,
fair.
and then Nate says, I believe it goes both ways. Right. So Rock is, referring to the point of us not, you need time to process it on your side, but when you're talking, you don't need time to process it.
Yeah.
The
And
reason most
that's where you guys have to communicate, right? Like, how are we gonna resolve issues, right? Like, and I would like, is you saying to your partner, listen, when you need time to be quiet to process it, I give you time to process it. You need to do the same for me, right? Like, because they're not. It's going back to what Justin said, right?
Right,
They're
it's
not
fair.
gonna know that unless you tell them.
but also
But you know what?
wait. Let me just get this. Oftentimes that happens that way is because we've already processed in our mind what we're going to
Yeah,
say.
we already had the whole conversation.
I need time to take in what you said, because I didn't know what your words was going to be. Now, women, we do this all the time. I know we do. So we all do. We have the whole argument conversation. We got a A selection, a B selection, a C selection. We know already. We got.
If he says this, then I'm going to say that. If he says this,
that, then I'm gonna say we already have it in our head. So we're just trying to wait for you, which is why we stand there waiting like this, like just waiting for what you're about to say. But when you say it, then we need the moment to process. And if you say something that's so far off from anything that we imagine, then we don't even know what to do, because we didn't give an account for this. I wasn't expecting you to say that.
That's what I was saying, right?
But we need time to process what you shared, because now I have no defense. Eric, you're doing a lot of laughing tonight.
but you also have to remember that most people listen to respond as opposed to listening
to understand.
Yeah.
Right? And so that creates a lot of issue as well, because if you're just listening to respond, you're not really hearing what the person is saying and what they're communicating to you. So now there's another breakdown in communication. So
right now, Rock, what was you gonna say? What else was you gonna add, sir?
I forgot.
Okay,
just
I think
write it down.
I think that we also have to allow clarifying questions into conversations so that we actually can understand, because sometimes when you're talking to somebody, you may be clearly stating what you're saying, but that doesn't mean they're clearly hearing what you are saying. They can hear all of the words, understand the definition from the definitional standpoint, but not necessarily understand what you're saying from the emotional place that you're in. And so I think, again, we have to learn how to have a loving disagreement / argument and go into it understanding that I'm not the problem, you're not the problem, this is the problem. How do we address the problem, not each other? I'm not trying to win an argument. I've never I did that for 13 years. I've never tried again. Not
you need to put that in chat. I'm not trying to argument. That's good right there. I'm about to get you.
I always say it's not about right and it's not about wrong. It's about getting along.
It's about resolving this.
We got to get along, and to get along, we got to have resolution to the issue.
Yeah.
But when you're in an argument, or when you're having a disagreement, and both parties are fighting to be right, resolution is nowhere in the mix.
Yeah.
So it's not about right or wrong. It's about a resolution so we can get along.
Yeah.
I think what happens in most cases, I find that when we get into arguments or in argumentative situations, is because we go in already defensive, number one. Number two, we are competing to be heard. You know, when I feel that you're not hearing me, because there's a difference between listening and hearing me. And when I feel like you're not hearing me is when it becomes combative, you know, and we have to learn how to pause in those places. So those are two things that we really have to consider in this, because it will help us to get to bypass that point of getting to this statement of who does that. You know, like why would you expect me, like just at the beginning, to answer a question you never asked? Is that fair? It's unfair for me to put you in that position and expect you to read my mind, you know, and vice versa. And Justin, you said something that I think, if I heard you correctly just now, you were talking about us asking clarifying questions, right? Is that what you said? Okay. Now we're giving language to these things, because this is all about us. And it's not just in, you know, male-female relationships. These are things that happen, you know, in our everyday lives, whether it's at work, whether it's with the bus driver, whether it's with your kids, you know, sometimes it's with yourself. Sometimes it's like self, you know, and self is like, you know, it's so passe, you should say, you know. So can you do me a favor and just kind of share, because some people may not understand what a clarifying question is, so that if you could just give a little bit on what that is or what that looks like, so that people understand, so that we can know how to operate better in that, or even start implementing it.
I mean, for me, a clarifying question would be a question that that I ask to make sure that I am hearing what you're saying. Because sometimes you can say this, that, and the third, and then what I heard was not what you said. Even though I heard your words, it wasn't what you said. If I'm not certain, especially once you know your person and you know they can say things in a roundabout way, people were raised up and taught how to communicate. So sometimes you have to say, is this what you're saying? Instead of going back later, you go try to do it, and then you come back. Well, you told me to do this. That's not what I said. No, the problem is it wasn't clear before you got there. So being able to have that conversation and say, okay, so let me make sure I understand you correctly. You want this, 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 and this. I guess if I'm gonna use an example, in I've not been in a situation yet where the way clothes are supposed to be washed is exactly the same for the man and the woman. So I don't even have an argument no more. You wash the clothes. If that's what you want to, I'll wash my own clothes. You ain't got to touch them. I fold them the way I want to fold them. I'm going to do it the way I want to. We ain't got to have this argument.
Fold them the way I want them folded. Yeah, I got you.
Right, I'll do that. But if we're ever going to come to a place where we can communicate to each other, so I know exactly what you're looking for, please, you know, we have this in relationships today, from what I hear on the internet, like nobody wants to teach their person how to coexist and love them, and that's a terrible idea. Like you're gonna making yourself mad for no reason at all. So ask the question, repeat the question back to the person the way that you heard it, not necessarily the way that they said it, so that if there's anything wrong with your understanding, you can get that cleared up right then. Y'all can communicate it, and then you can move forward. But yeah, that's what I would say. A clarifying question is a question that will allow the person that's talking to you and allow yourself to know that you understand what they are saying.
Yeah, that's good.
A reverse to that too is when you're talking. I hear a lot of people say they use it like, "Don't treat me like I'm a child." But proper communication is, if me and Justin are talking, and if I say, "Do you understand what I'm saying?" A lot of people look at that and say, "Don't treat me like I'm a kid," but then they don't understand what you're saying, though.
But I think it also comes down to how we communicate, right? So you have to know people, and so to Justin's point, right? It's kind of like clarified question. It's kind of like paraphrasing what someone said, right? So, right, and so if you if you say to the person, do you understand me? Now it's kind of a trigger versus you saying, let me make sure I'm understanding what you said, right? Because then they receive it differently, right? And so it also comes down to the terminology you use, because if you say, do you understand me? You're going to get that, why you treat me like a child, versus let me make sure I'm understanding what you're saying, right?
I'll be like, who you talking to? That's what's first.
So sometimes you have to think along that line.
We gotta grow up. That's it. We just gotta grow up,
right? But no, but actually, I would say, like, when we teach this at, like, when we do trainings on communication, those are some of the things we teach people. We talk to them about the words that you use when you're talking to someone or communicating with someone, right? What creates the barrier, right? What creates the wall, right? And so a lot of what is being said, like the paraphrasing and clarifying questions. But one of the main things we do talk about when we're training people around communication is you get a different response when you are saying, I don't understand versus do you understand me, right? Because you have to kind of have a feel for the person you're talking to as well, right? And know what might trigger them. Because most people are going to be defensive.
Yeah, you got to listen to the body language, the facial expressions. All of that is a part of the communication, not just the words. And so, yeah, that all of that stuff is important, and we got to be able to jump on it. And for me, because I realized that so much of what we have called communication, from being how we were brought up, is not proper communication.
right?
And so you have to be willing to have the conversation in such a way where you're not trying to be degrading or demeaning, but you are trying to understand. And that's why from day one, you got it. Once you kind of learn how to properly communicate, from day one, have the conversation. Take that out from day one and let them know, listen, if we ever having a conversation and it sounds like I'm being if I'm like talking down to you, I'm not. I'm genuinely trying to understand what you are saying, because I'm a believer that everything, we are all the sum total of our experiences, and no matter what we're doing, we're talking from those experiences. And so you got to be able to have a conversation with that person, with their experiences, with their train of thought, their mindset, their character. You got to have a conversation with all of that. And especially when it's an argument, because the argument is going to be a disagreement. That's going to be a heavy conversation no matter what. But we can lighten the load by being a little bit more understanding and compassionate. And then you can develop conversation. You can develop a conversation over time where you don't necessarily have to get to that point. And then you have to understand, don't nobody got to agree with you all the time. Don't nobody got to accept your way all the time. You ain't always right. I'm not always right. And that don't make us enemies. That just means we view things differently.
Right.
And that's fine.
That's a key point right there. That's a key point.
Let me read some comments because they talking to us in the chat, and then we gonna go right there because that is a major point. I've learned that myself. I've learned to be like, you know what? I don't have to like it. I don't have to agree with it, but I do have to respect it. Right. So Natasha says the big problem is that people don't accept that just like they could be right in a disagreement, you can be wrong.
That's true. That's true.
Got a few words in there that you can be wrong. So it's possible. Mara says, asking to know what someone is saying. Just talking about the clarifying questions, asking like you were saying. Welcome in 360 Coaching. Good to see you here on tonight. Mara also says some people don't like questions, and that's true. If we don't
ask them, but they don't like to be questioned.
Right. So well, for me, I don't necessarily like to be questioned, but it depends on what the situation is. You can ask me anything, but if I'm already telling you something, don't question. You questioning my answer will depend on if you're questioning my answer in disbelief, like you want to challenge it because you can't accept that that's really my answer. That's triggering for me because that becomes combative. You know, but if you're asking or questioning my answer because you're trying to understand, then I can rock with you with that. So yes, people. So I think you just have to be mindful of which scenario it is. She also says it then becomes a problem communicating with said person. Exactly. Yeah, because I'll be ready to. I gotta go to my prayer closet and get my life together. I have to switch to my reform. I'm working on it, y'all. I'm being for real. I'm working on it, but I'm working. There was a time when I wasn't. There was a time when I was not. So I've gotten much. Shut up, Eric.
I didn't say nothing.
I thought you coughed. I'm sorry. I take it back. Welcome in, partner. My Monday night Beyond the Mic partner is in the building, Dr. Elaine Sanders. She says we have to learn to communicate effectively. And I think it's important when we're talking about effective communication. There's so many layers to it. I'm like a word girl. So by definition, I want to understand so when you say effective communication, what does it mean to you? And what does that look like to you? Because what may be effective communication to you may not be the same to me. Your effective communication might be yelling, mine could be, throwing a shoe at you. People do, I'm saying, those are extremes, but people think that's effective communication because it's what they have seen, And so it's the one way that you learn, how to communicate. Some people effectively communicating is yelling. I'm not really with that. You start getting me in my feelings. I start having conversations with myself, and I'm like, I need you to lower your tone. We can talk, but effective communication to some people can be the way it's expressed, or is it the content of what you're saying? So I think you have to find out a person's communication style in order to communicate effectively. That's a very good point. Mara says
That is very true.
Right.
That is very true, Marvin.
I need to know how you.
So elaborate on that. Some people just are insecure about their level of understanding.
Oh, you want her? Okay. You want her to elaborate on?
No, I want you. I cheat. Because you said it's true.
What I believe she's trying to say is because we people are on different levels of understanding, different levels of education, different levels of knowledge, and different levels of wisdom. And sometimes, I'm just coming from in the beginning of our marriage where that was an issue, being on because sometimes what happens is we may be here a little bit, and we're talking to a person who not only is not there, but they want to be there, but we don't grace them the time to get there. We want to drag them along. No, you need to come up now, whether they're ready or not. So there's different levels of understanding because you have different walks of life. I was raised in the church. My wife was raised in the street. So that's, and then I'm a man and she a woman. Those right there by itself is different levels of understanding in different things, in different areas, right? So when we came together, when they said opposites attract, that was really opposites attract.
Yeah.
Because her father was a bootlegger and they was sold drugs and all of that when I was coming up in Sunday school and all the other stuff, right? So there's different levels. So when we met, this is what she wanted, but in the beginning, I didn't grace her, or I didn't have the knowledge, or I didn't have the know-how to allow her to get to where she's at today. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm like, well, everybody know this because I came up here. I'm thinking everybody, when I turned 18 and got out there at 19, I'm thinking everybody went to church. But to come to find out, I was like the only one. that was just you never been to church?
Yeah.
Huh? What'd you say, baby?
So you was the problem then. You was the odd man out.
Most definitely. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, because I didn't have the grace to let her get to it because she wanted it. It wasn't like she didn't want it. She was bucking. She was fighting. She wanted to get where I was at. But we don't allow people time
to get there
and the grace to gain the understanding, to gain the knowledge. So we want them to come along when we want them to come along. Now, even though it took me the time it took me, and I'm still learning at 58, we want people to come and get it all in one time.
Yeah.
But this goes I see you, E. I'm coming right to you in 1 second. But it goes to the point of saying that lends to the fact why some people are just insecure about their level of understanding, where we are in comprehension. We understand, we learn understanding through what we practice. The more I practice something, the more I understand it. The more you learn addition, the better you understand the process of it. And that's the same thing with life. And a lot of us, some are insecure about their level of understanding in relationships. And when you get into it with someone, say in this case, who is expecting you to know, like, what you mean you don't know how to, we got to be mindful of how we address what someone does not know. So, because you don't want them to, you don't want to add the insult to injury,
Right.
want to make it safe for them to say to you again, and getting back to the communication, as Justin was talking about before, making it vulnerable and making it a safe environment where you can have the vulnerable conversation to admit that I understand, this here. So that's a good point. I just want to get through some comments before I let you guys get back down with it. She says, simply saying I don't understand is not a problem. It should not be a problem. She says, exactly, grow up. Now we have to keep in mind though, when we're asking other people to grow up, now I'm just going to say, because you know me, do both sides. Now, when you're asking somebody to grow up, keep in mind that you then have to be willing to give them the grace, like Rock was talking about, and be patient to allow them to grow up, because growing up takes time. And with that, you got to understand that you now have to grow up and become that leading person who's going to show someone else how it looks, to be in an environment where you have the space to grow up safely.
Yes.
We got to be careful when we're asking people or telling them that you got to grow up. It's like, I do, but you got to grow up with me. Since you're demanding that I do so, then make it safe for me. That's just, that's how I'm just saying. Elaine says sometimes we communicate from a place of trauma instead of a place of healing. That's very
true. Yeah.
We have definite trauma responses because we're so accustomed to. I've been so accustomed to, and I realized this recently, as I've been like kind of getting back into the dating realm and getting to know people, that in some spaces, not every relationship, but I am so used to some unhealthy relationships that being healed and whole now and showing up differently, that having healthy options in relationships is so foreign to me. It feels like the wildest thing in the world. I'm like, what? Like, we can actually talk about something, like, huh? Like, we can actually, and it's not necessarily the other person, because I had to think about where I was, and where I was in relationships while I was wounded. And so I wasn't letting, we look for the Band-Aid, not for, what's next. So sometimes we do respond out of our trauma than other things. And we have to relearn, give yourself the opportunity to relearn you where you are. Said the same person will turn around and disrespect you just because they lack understanding. That's true. That can happen, very much so. Understanding and misunderstood what you said instead of just confirming what they processed, they lash out. Because no one wants to ever admit that I don't understand. And I'm not saying that no one in the world, but that is not a comfortable space for us to admit. And we have to make it normalize saying, I don't understand. Justin, you want to say something? I saw you, Eric. I mean, I see.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, one of the things that I've learned and I've implemented into practice and found to be effective in this realm of me trying to understand how to communicate. I am a much better writer than I am a speaker. And so I will say, hey, listen, I'm going to write you a letter. Yeah. I'm going to separate it into the different things that we need to have a discussion about. And then you can respond to that letter verbally, but it's better for me. And I cause sometimes I don't process as fast as the women that I've talked to. They got it and they're ready to go. I need to be able to think about these things, and I'm very careful about the words that I'm using. I don't want to speak to my person in anger because you can't take that back. So sometimes consider writing it down and giving them the letter and saying, hey, I want you to read this and take the rest of the day to process it. We'll come back tomorrow and discuss it. You know what I'm saying? And if that's an option for you, I think that maybe that would be better. I'm not saying it's going to fix it.
No,
I'm
that's good.
saying
That's
that's
good.
another option.
No, that is good. Come on, E, what was you gonna say?
Oh, I wasn't gonna say anything, but um, I'm just gonna say, like, when me and my wife get into disagreements, or sometimes, heated disagreements, because we talk. So a lot of times I gotta take a step back and I just get quiet. So when I get quiet and she's still talking, and I'm sitting there and I'm not saying anything, I'm hearing her. I'm just not saying anything. And then at the end of the conversation, she'll be like, "Well, you don't have nothing to say," and I'll be like, "No, I'm just listening to you. I'm just listening. I don't have anything to say." So when I don't have anything to say, that's because I'm processing everything that you're saying to me, and so forth.
I
Not everything.
had to learn how to do that. I had to learn how to do that.
Yeah,
Just
not
listen
everything.
sometimes. Just listen.
Yeah, yeah. And when she finishes, okay, all right, I hear you, and then I leave it alone.
Mm-hmm.
I like
One thing I learned in my marriage is it's okay to listen, and it's even okay not to always have a response.
Yep. Everything
Right.
doesn't require a
Because
response.
sometimes what I've learned is sometimes people are just venting. They're not really. It's not really a complaint. It's just like, I just don't understand why the fan got to be on every night. It's not really, it's nothing to really get into an argument over.
Yeah.
Well, I be hot.
Yes.
Well, I be cold, and it's not really it's really nothing. So what I've learned how to do is improvise. I improvise. So, I either turn it down. A lot of times I turn it off or whatever, and so forth. Because sometimes it's not always. Sometimes what we do is not always a necessity. Sometimes it's just out of comfort.
Listen, we going through
I like when the air is on because I can sleep better when I have air on me than when it's just like regular.
Thank you.
So sometimes it's just a comfort. So sometimes we have to learn how to improvise within our comfort zones.
Now hold on.
If I'm fighting for comfort and she's fighting for comfort, then we'll never get nowhere. Right? So we have to improvise. So we have to I've learned to improvise and adapt.
Just keep in mind in the seasons of the lives of the women, okay?
No.
There are seasons that I got two fans in my room. Okay. I wish my son would turn one of them. I wish. It's a good thing I'm single right now, because it'd be a problem. Because bro, you touch that fan, we gonna have a whole different.
I got the air, the fan, and the ceiling fan. Come on now.
And she needs to have all.
Wow.
She needs to
but like I said, I've learned to compromise. Like the ceiling fan ain't been on for days. I've learned to, I learned to compromise. And if she said, "Oh my God, it's hot," I just click it back on.
Okay.
If it's cold, I click it back off. You just got to improvise.
You go with it. Go with it. It won't always be like this. That's what the song says, right? Dr. Elaine says there's a difference between being questioned versus interrogating, and that's true. I want to read this real quick also before I read some more comments and we get back into this conversation. When we're talking about the clarifying question, that's one of the things that was detailed in looking at what does it mean by this phrasing of who does that. Talking about the straightforward question, it says in some contexts it can be a simple question asking who is performing a specific action. For example, if a group is trying to figure out who is supposed to lock up the office, someone might ask, who does that? Essentially, the content of the conversation determines whether the phrase is rhetorical, exclamation, or a genuine question. So when you're talking about doing clarifying questions, it's just saying that make it a straightforward question. Do you want me to do this or do you want me to do that? Do you like this? It's very simple questions. Those are very simple clarifying questions that will help whoever we're with to understand what our need really is or what our want really is. And don't be afraid to ask really simple, clarifying questions. You know, they are absolutely important. What's popping, Eric? Eric Moore's in the building. He's saying, peace, fam. Welcome in, and welcome into those of you who may have come in and we didn't greet yet. You know what it is. It's Thursday night, the greatest night of the week. And we here chopping it up, just having some fun, a little, bit of a spin on a game night. June has been amazing. We talking about this phrase, this things that make us question who does that, and how it affects our relationships of all kinds. So far, we have been having a great talk, and I appreciate everybody's playing so nicely. It's making me nervous. I don't know, but y'all know 8:30 is coming, so give it a minute. Elaine says there's a difference between question and interrogating. I just want to get through some comments. Mara says that's crazy though, because sometimes the answer could be ludicrous. That's true. Now I would just say this. Asking the question, we're not responsible for what the answer is. It could be ludicrous. I don't have to like it, but I will respect that this is the answer. And that the answer may still make me ask, but who does that? I shared a story a long time ago, and I had to apologize to some men that I dated previously after I had my son. And here's why. Because I did not fully understand. I have two brothers, but I'm the youngest of four. So I didn't grow up watching them grow up. So there's just certain things that I did not really understand, that men, y'all really are wired a particular way, like just straight out the womb. So watching my son grow up and seeing stuff, I was like, oh, because I'm going, and I tell it all the time. Y'all know me, I keep it straight. I thought some of them was just straight dumb. I was just like, what is wrong with you? Like I did. I did. Some of them was just like, yo, my God. Like, what? Where did you get that from? Like, how did you sat down? You saw this was the situation and you sat down and you thought this through, and this is what you came, like you really, and you was proud of this answer, because some of it was ludicrous. But I didn't fully understand at that time how men process differently. Like your end goal may be different than mine is in a situation, and how you go about it. After raising my son and seeing from birth, like just the stuff that he did, like I had to call a few. There's about 5 of them. I was like, yo, you know what? I'm be real humble right now, and I honestly am apologizing to you. I said, because I thought you were special, like Little Yellow School Bus special with some of the things that you did. But I was like, it was me. It wasn't you. It was me. I didn't understand. Y'all are just wired like really differently. I'm reformed, y'all. I thought I was doing a good thing. I was apologizing. It didn't really. They received it though. It's a good thing they love me. They received it. But I'm just saying, sometimes it's the communication. It wasn't them. It was me. I was the special one. I will take it. But again, the answers could be ludicrous. We don't have to like it, but I gotta respect it. So we've learned to respect that men operate differently. And so I give you credit for your results at the end of it. Salute, men, salute. Y'all know who you are. Eric Moore says, communication only works if both parties are willing to listen and understand. And that is true too. You have to be willing not to just hear what you want to hear, but be willing to understand the other person's perspective. Mara says, and if I don't combat it, then I'm saying that's okay, and it's not. This is no offense. Let's see, effective communication is effective communication. That may be. Let's see, it's frustrating talking to someone who lacks understanding and lacks the will to understand. Yeah, sometimes it is difficult to.
Some people do refuse to understand. Yeah.
They just won't, just will not open up, and that does make sense. It makes a lot of sense. How much time is enough, fam? Are they doing the work to increase their understanding? I think it depends on the person and it depends on the situation. Realistically, it's hard to put a time frame on it because people mature as they mature, and you may find even as they're trying to understand, there's going to be other underlying issues that may come up within that process that then you have to deal with before. Eric says one of the mistakes most people make while Conversing is allowing their ego to take over as opposed to trying to gain understanding. That is true. Coach 360 Coaching says, yes, it takes 66 days to form a new habit. Look at that. So I ain't Christ. Some situations, okay. Mar says, I ain't Christ. Some situations, grace can fade out. I respect it. And 360 Coaching says, I ain't even gonna touch it. I ain't gonna touch it. He says, so true. So I wanted to make sure we got through all of our comments on tonight, in the moment. So I hope this is being good and helping somebody so far. We talked about, Justin just took us to a whole nother level with the communication point, because that was really, really, really good. And Eric helped us understand that people's systems and processes are just different, and we need to learn to embrace. And as Rock said, adjust. We just have to learn how to pivot and adjust. Patrick, I'm so glad you're still here. He said it's helping me. We're here to help. That makes me feel good. I feel accomplished. I feel successful now because it is helping you. Because that's what we want to do. We're having real conversations. We are just real people having real talk and giving some real resolutions as to how we manage things. Mara says, I found that men question and women don't like being questioned. And that's true. I have to admit, I don't like being questioned if it's in an interrogating way. But I do not mind you asking a question. Anybody want to share?
So I'm going to say
something
that most people probably are not going to receive well, is that we also have to have a sense of emotional intelligence, right?
Yes.
And so for me, I am self-aware. So I know the things that I do to push somebody's buttons, right? I know, who I am, but I'm also aware of the fact that sometimes we have to look at ourselves, and a lot of us don't like to do that, right? So in the case of communication, you could be communicating with someone and you feel like they're not understanding, or you feel whatever you feel, but you also have to understand, we have to respect that those are their feelings. And I wouldn't want anyone to tell me how I should feel or how I should respond, right? And so we also have to keep that in mind when communicating with people, right? I will tell you, I for me, because a lot of this stuff I train and I deal with on a regular basis, right? I think a lot of it also comes down to being self-aware, because we sometimes forget that if we're always having situations where we're disagreeing with somebody or where things are not working out, what's the common denominator in that situation?
It's us.
Right? And sometimes I got to look at it and say, like, for instance, with relationships, at some point I have to say, what's the common denominator in all these relationships that are not working out?
It's me.
Right? Me. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What am I missing? What am I not doing? What am I doing? Right? So sometimes we do have to take a step back and just be like, seriously, maybe we're not communicating well because there's something I need to think about that I'm not communicating in an appropriate way. Or maybe I'm not listening to what somebody is telling me, right? And just be like, just admit that. Because I will admit, sometimes if I don't want to hear what you want to hear, it's going to go in one ear and out the other, right? But some of us don't want to admit that, right? And so I think sometimes we do have to take a look at ourselves, right? It's not always the other person.
True. And that is true. What do you want to say, Rob?
You're muted.
Thank you, Theo. I wanted to say, like I was saying earlier, what they were saying earlier about how long it takes for the understanding. There's a lot of variables when it comes to understanding. There's a lot of different entities of life, right? So you can't. It's not an overall understanding, because you have understanding here, understanding. There's different parts of life of understanding. You have relationship understanding. You have understanding of parenting, and you got understanding in different areas. So understand all the understanding don't grow in all areas simultaneously. You know, it's different forms of understanding. So it's kind of hard to say how long it take for understanding. And there's a lot going on in life today, and we all know that. And you know, to have somebody come when we want them to get there is asking a lot. You know, so we gotta be compassionate, and we gotta be patient. That's what patience come in at. Because if the truth of the matter is, if I remove myself from one group and put it in another group, they'll look at me the same way I'm looking at somebody else. So none of us are really exempt from it. It's just, we all. If I'm sitting in the midst of men that are 80 plus, they'll look at me like I'm looking at the 30 and 40-year-olds.
Yep.
So we're none of us. So understanding comes. Understanding don't all come at the same time.
I mean, and we also got to stop this. Men do this, women do that, because some men do this, some women do that, right?
Right.
Because like I think Dr. Elaine said, right? Mm-hmm. Some of us are communicating and also responding based on some unhealed trauma, right? Or something that happened in our lives that we're still holding on to and we haven't released completely, right? And so I think we also have to remember that everybody is different and everybody's going to reach that place of effective communication in their own way and in their own time.
Right.
It's up to me, right? I'm just going to say for me, it's up to me to decide how long do I want to engage in this situation,
yep.
Whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship. How long do I want to stay in this situation if I feel like we keep going around in the same circle, right? Mm-hmm. If I see that, no matter how we communicate, no matter how we try to set the rules of engagement and talk about how we're going to communicate, we keep coming back to this same space. It's up to me then to decide, maybe this is not a situation I should be in.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is something I got to take a step back from.
That's true. Hold on 1 second. Natasha says, we're all just built differently. We just have to work together. And that is a true statement, but it is also much easier said than done in both cases. And that's the struggle. That's why we find ourselves asking this question. When people react, respond, or say certain things, the actions that we take, it's like, who does that? We struggle with why a person is doing what they're doing because we are built differently and because they're something that we would not. So our understanding is so foreign to us because we have to understand nothing is just my way. There is no one way to, to do anything. There are 1,000,001 ways to do everything. It's just us finding what works for us. And knowing that if what works for me doesn't work for someone else, doesn't mean that their way is wrong. This is where we get into this. I'm at this thing like, are you trying to convict me about it or convince me about it? Mm-hmm. Neither one. Don't convict me because what I'm doing is not what you're doing. But I also don't need you to convince me that your way is right or better. It's getting the same results because people will be like, well, I don't know why you're doing it that way. Or I don't know why. And we've done it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How often are we saying, who does that? Who does that? Who does that? Right. And what are we saying it about? Because in some cases it might be lighthearted, right? And in some cases it might be a serious situation. So I think you also have to look at that too, right? How often am I saying this? Is it really something that we need to figure out how we're gonna work through this, or is it just something being lighthearted? Like the snooze button, that's lighthearted, right? Your spouse always hitting the snooze button, that's lighthearted. That's like jokingly. That's not a huge situation that might end in the breakdown of a relationship, right? So I think you also have to distinguish between when you're saying who does that the seriousness of that statement.
True. And I think you also have to consider in asking who does that. Like you brought up a point of how often are we saying it? If you find yourself asking that question quite often, then my thing to you would be you need to self-examine, be introspective to find out why are you so closed-minded and having issue, because that's how it comes off to me, that you could be closed-minded as to how other people do things.
It's that self-awareness, right? Like, is this something I need to really take a look at myself?
And why are you so afraid to embrace the way someone else is doing it? Is it because that maybe you're not secure in your ways? Because when we hold stuff real tight, it's because we're afraid that it's gonna escape us and we'll never get it again. You know, we hold things close to us that we have fear of losing and never getting back. But if I know something is mine and it belongs to me, I don't have to close it. I don't have to hold it with a clenched fist and put a lock on it and secure it in a glass case and all of that, because I know what I have, whether it be a thought, a belief, a person, what I have is mine, and no one can take that from me. So I'm not afraid to be open to hear someone else's way of, even when it strikes me and I wouldn't necessarily do that way, you know. But at the end of the day, I still have to respect someone else's thought process. Don't be afraid to learn something else. To learn something may take you out of your comfort zone. Something may open up that will help you to believe a little differently. You know, or aren't we supposed to enlighten each other? That's how we grow, when we learn something more than what we know, right? We all want to be in a situation or in relationships that are going to cause us to learn love.
Yep.
I want to be with someone who's going to help me learn love. I know it one way, but I look forward to learning it in a whole different way. Be something I don't know. Help my sensory memory.
Yeah. But so I'm gonna share an experience. So one employer that I had, right? The entire leadership team, we did what we call, like, I forget the name of the assessment, but we all took this assessment, right? You answer all these questions, right? They compute them, and then they give you a color, right? You're blue, green, this person might be red, yellow, right? Whatever. And then we all came together, and, you know, they tell you what that means. And it was interesting because we all then would have on our best, our colors, right? So when someone walked in the room, they knew Theo is blue-green. So in order for me to engage with Theo, I know this is how she receives information, right? I know this is how she likes to get things done, right? Versus might be like my boss was a red, yellow. So I knew, like, when I approached him, I had to approach him in a certain way, right? So it's kind of the same thing, right? You have to get to know people. And you have to get to know their strengths. Like, a friend of mine is a strength coach. And so I took an assessment. It's called the Clifton Strength Assessment. And it tells you what your what your 34 dominant characteristics are. But you have 5 top and 5 bottom, right? The 5 top are how you operate. And when you take that test, it really does help you why you move the way you move, right? Because, like, I show up as like an achiever, right? And I forget what my other 5 are. I probably actually have it here. I had it here the other day because we were doing something with it. So my top 5 are achiever, relator, learner, responsibility, and arranger, right? So once I took this test, I was like, oh, so that's why I tend to move in this way, right? Or that's why I tend to do this, right? And so sometimes it really is just getting to know yourself as well as getting to know your partner, because that will help with how you communicate. Because when you understand how someone receives information, right, it helps you, you know, communicate effectively with them or better, right?
I agree. I agree. I think we all agree. Eric Moore says we need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable in order to grow.
That is
That's
so
good.
true.
That is so true. Yeah.
true.
That is
I was
something.
saying that earlier.
That is like,
We gotta get out of our comfort zones.
That's my brother right there.
That's your. Of all things, that's what you're gonna say. That's your
Yeah,
brother.
that's my brother right there. Coming
oh,
with that
okay.
wisdom.
Hi, brother.
One thing that helped me be a better communicator is I had to understand that just like I have a right to agree or disagree, so don't the other person.
Yeah.
Right.
That is.
And then one day I sat down and I realized, my father has been telling me that even when I was growing up. He was like, why do you think you could do what you do, but then you want to control how other people do things? Yeah, you can't do that. Just like you have a right to agree or disagree or like and dislike, they do too.
Yeah.
And then I had to learn how to respect that. And because when you don't, what you're doing, you're trying to get everybody to conform to who you are and what you want. Right.
Mhm.
And then what made me become a better decision maker was I had to learn not to change something just because it's not the way I would do it, or change something just because I had the authority to change it.
Yeah.
So that makes you better all the way. That made me better all the way around. Because most arguments or disagreements is really based on that's not how the other person would have done it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And I think it's
right.
Like,
and then when you did, so yep.
And I think it's like Eric said, sometimes it's ego.
Yep.
Sometimes it's pride, right? And so when you really,
your boss is attempting to reach you.
I'm a big proponent of doing the work, right? And this came out of my healing journey, right? I'm not going to say I was like that before, but when I really got on that road of really trying to heal responsibly, it meant I had to take a look at me, right? And because that my healing journey was about me, right? And so for me, that meant I started really doing a lot of the work, right? Really getting to know and being self-aware of, and like what a lot of you have already said, right? It's not about me being right. And actually, I truly believe I can't tell somebody how to feel. I can't tell somebody how to receive something that I am saying. I just have to respect, right? That they have their opinion, they have their thoughts, and then it's up to me to decide how I'm going to operate in this space, right? And for me to put up the appropriate boundaries if necessary, right? So, but a lot of it comes down to doing the work, right? Because you can only control yourself. I can't control anybody else. I can only control how I respond.
Right. Right. And we all have to learn how to respond in a way that we're getting our points across effectively, but also not being offensive to the point where it causes harm. Yeah. You want to be able to, offend me to better, if I could say that way, but not to worse. Eric says we're so used to allowing people to talk to us a certain way. So when someone talks to us in a way that we're not accustomed to, we get in our feelings. And that's true, and I mean, in some cases it's justifiable. It's true. If I'm not used to you yelling at me, yes, I'm absolutely going to get in my feelings about it. I'm big on tone and volume. So it's like, okay, hey, now I'm going to all right, I'm going to need you to, because after a while, I'm not hearing you because it's triggering my emotions. It makes me start feeling unsafe, and so when I get unsafe, when I feel like I'm unsafe, then I become defensive. So we do have to be mindful of these things. But at the same time, I've learned how to say to myself, Dawn, this person may be speaking in their emotions right now. So they may not be trying to offend you, but breathe for a second, before you start going off in your emotions, and try to de-escalate the situation. So you have to learn how to not allow yourself not to go to those spaces, which helps us not to get in our feelings. And then I can say to you, I could appreciate what you were saying, but I don't care for the way that you said it, or I need you to say it to me. Like, we need to find a better way in tone and volume, or whatever that is for you.
I like something that Justin said earlier, right? Just around that point of, it's not about who's right and who's wrong, right? It's about we have a situation or issue that we might not be agreeing about, and let's put that on the forefront and figure out how we're going to work together or communicate in a way that we can work out to resolve that issue, as opposed to the issue no longer being a problem, because now we're just at each other, right? And I'm probably paraphrasing it and not saying it the way he said it, but I mean, I think that is so important, where when we realize, right, how do we even get here, right? How do we get to this point where we're disagreeing? Because sometimes we get to this point of a disagreement, and when you start going back and forth and the communication is going, you forget why you even started having a disagreement.
All right. Sometimes we have a problem, and I see you, E. Hold on one second. We got to remember, like he said, we are not the problem. We're having a problem. I think just something. We're getting ready to go around and let you guys get in your final comments and thoughts. But Justin, I think you wanted to share something. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, no, and I guess this could be, if it's okay, my final thought. But a part of what I've learned is there. I'm going to the Bible in this, but in the scriptures, as it relates to marriage, it says they two shall become one. And that word becoming is a continuous thing. That's something that happens over a long period of time. And this is why marriage is supposed to work the way it's supposed to work. But if we ever stop, for me, I understood that I am not a finished product. And so is my person. So as long as we can function in the operation of becoming, then we can continue to grow together. So no, you don't have to think the way I do. We do have to figure out a way to be able to think that allows us to continue pushing us forward. But we don't, like, we are different. We have different experiences. We've lived a different life. Children can grow up in the exact same household and tell completely different stories. How much more two people from different households? We're not alike. Like all the fairy tale stuff in the beginning make us think that's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
The way the movies are scripted, we forget that this is scripted. It don't work like that in real life. But I think we have to focus. I think there's a benefit in remembering that we are all becoming. We're not a finished product. We can have a conversation. We can get to a place and grow. And then after the conversation, now you got to actually act out on those things, because some people can talk real good and they don't do nothing. And that's where accountability has to come in on both ends, men and women. Don't just say it, do it. And once you do it, then wherever it goes from that point, it's there. But yeah, I think that the communication is super important. And I, like you said, that's exactly what I was saying. Like we are not the problem. The problem is the problem. And as long as we can focus on it that way, I don't know how we can't work through whatever it is. It may be a way, but I haven't been able to think of a way that it can't be worked out. But that's all I want to say. Thank you.
No, good. Thank you for that. And if that's your closing statement, sir, you have done a wonderful job. We're gonna send your juice, your offering, and your towel very shortly. It's gonna be dropped off. We're gonna make sure Amazon sends it to your door. No, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Come on, sir. Eric, what do you want to share along with your final comments, please? Thank you, sir.
So there was a statement that was made in the comments about how long should you wait. So if you're having a conversation with somebody and that person is not giving you the answer that you want at that present time, you wait as long as it takes. You just wait as long as it takes. But let me make this clear. Do not go to bed angry at that person because you did not get the answer that you wanted before you laid your head down. Your actions dictate your progress. So I'm going to say that again. Your actions dictates your progress. So whatever you say and do to that person is going to decide and make the difference on how your relationship is going to go. So make sure that you, whatever you say and do, that you think it through. Because when you say and do what you do, when you say and do it, you can't take it back.
That's
Like
right.
Rock said, your words are going to dictate your actions, and your actions are going to dictate your progress going forward. So with that, blessings.
Okay, Sir Eric. He's giving us he gave us the benediction, y'all.
Yeah.
And you see, I had to turn the hat back
I
around
see.
Yeah.
See?
because I wanted to make sure that that especially the men understood what I said.
You did a wonderful job. No,
Thank
you
you.
did a wonderful job. Your performance was stellar. Okay. No, thank you for that. That's good stuff. I hope
My-
y'all are listening in. Come on, Theo. Give us your final thoughts and comments. Oh, hold on, because I gotta do because Pookie Smoochie, you know, she's clapping for that's right. Clap for your husband. I'm not mad at that. Come on, keep Black Love alive. Come on, Theo. Give us your final thoughts and comments.
So what I'm gonna say is, I think we just all have to recognize that, like Justin said, we are always becoming, we are always evolving. The 29-year-old Theo is different than the 59-year-old Theo, right?
Right.
Because I have had experiences, I have learned some stuff, and I'm still learning, right? I don't always get it right. And so I think grace is important. And, you know, I say that a lot. I know some people get tired of it, but I do think grace is very important. But I think we also have to give ourselves grace, right? We have to remember to give ourselves grace. But for me, I'm a big proponent of looking at myself first in every situation, right? Because that helps me to understand or be empathetic, right? Towards someone else, whether they lack a level of understanding, whether they're not hearing me, whether I don't feel like they're getting me, right? It allows me to take a step back and say, okay, what might be going on with them that might be causing this disconnect between the two of us? So I think sometimes we have to take a step back to think about not only what's going on with ourselves, but what's going on with your partner or your person or your friend or whoever you're communicating with, because there might be something happening with them that is causing there to be a disconnect or causing the communication to be, you know, not as solid and fluid as it should be. So I would just say, you know, be open-minded. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I think a lot of us, we have blinders on, and sometimes you gotta like just open it up a little. You gotta be a little open-minded.
That's good. Be open-minded. And like I said, the keyword becoming. I love that. I hope y'all are getting something, getting these gems, pick them up, catch the replay, all of that. Come on, big brother Rock, Mr. Rockology. Come and share with us your final thoughts and comments.
Emotional intelligence
Mm-hmm.
was something that once I learned what it really meant, I embraced it. And what it means is not only to be able to regulate your emotions, but also learn how to regulate the emotions of the other person as well.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get to that point, you will realize there'll be a lot less frustration. and a lot less anxiety going on within yourself. One thing I do daily is self-examine. Even before I lay down tonight, was I too forward with Justin? Did I handle the women with tender loving care like they supposed to, even though I disagree? You always have to do a self-examination, because when you examine yourself, you will realize change starts within. Change is internal, it's not external. We're looking for external changes, and that don't do. When change starts within, everything else on the external automatically starts looking different, right? So when I start embracing those things start running real smooth. Me and my wife was married 16 years. We separated. We got back together like a year and a half later. And I made God a promise, and I made her a promise, and I made myself a promise. And you know what that promise was? I would no longer worry about what she is or is not doing. I will worry about myself. And since 2018, I don't think we've had we had disagreements, but we had the arguments. Because I'm worrying about myself now. I'm not worrying about, well, you need to do this and you need to do this. And the very thing we say they need to do, we're not even doing it ourselves. So, so we just got to learn how to regulate, and then once we learn how to do that, things are good. Because you got venting and you got emotional dumping. Know when the person is venting and learn when they just emotional dumping. When they're emotional dumping, it ain't got nothing to do with you anyway. That's them. So, just a lot that So when you get those things going, things will automatically look different.
That's true. That's
good. That's good.
That's good stuff. I want to thank you guys, everybody, for tuning in on tonight. I absolutely love the Thursday Night Squad. I absolutely do. Game night's a little different. Really, it's not about us playing a game, but it's about us dealing with the games that we play while we are in relationships and building relationships with other people. So on here, it's never what it looks like, and it's never what it seems like, or never what it sounds like. Well, sometimes it is, but we're going to have a real good game night one of these nights. For real, we're going to come on. But this was a very necessary conversation to have to wrap up and end the month of June with our amazing men. Ain't no men finer than the ones we got here on Thursday night. Plain and simple, inwardly and outwardly. So thank you so much, my big brother, Rockology. That guy, that's what I have to call him, that guy, Justin Wilson. He comes in and he does what he does. Appreciate you. Sir Eric, you already know what it is, sir. We appreciate you. And of course, the beautiful Jim, my amazing flower, my sister, Coach Theo in the building. I'm your Thursday night host, Lady Dawn B. And in closing, I just want to say and remind you all that before you ask this question of who does that, consider some of the things that have been shared on tonight. Okay, because that we've discussed tonight, and be open to understanding so that we can find out, so that we can show understanding. Be open to understanding how someone else is, how people operate, so that we can continue standing together. Because that's what it's about. So open yourself up to that understanding of each other, so that we can continue standing together with each other. So again, this has been a great versus on tonight. The ladies' room versus the men's lounge, chopping it up in the place. And June is done, but prepare yourself for July, y'all, because July's going to be popping. It's summertime, and there's a lot of family reunions happening, and everybody trying to get together and have good times, right? So for the month of July, we're going to be talking about things that family matters. Oh my goodness, I hope y'all are ready. But it's never as basic as we think. We talk about the hard things. So what are we going to do? Join me here next Thursday on July 3rd. We're going to open it up by talking about family matters and how to do blended families right. That's right. We're going to make sure.
I got 46 years of experience in that.
We're going to make sure that you get it right. We're going to show you how we do it in my family so that when you go to the family reunion and the picnic with your new and your next and your old boo and your ex might be there, you learn how to get along and get along the right way. So looking forward to having who? That's right. For those who don't know by now, that guy at the bottom, the other corner there, ex-husband, and we share a child. I know it's crazy, right, y'all? But that's also, we are very good friends, have an amazing friendship, and that's right, that young lady in the chat, Natasha, that is his good thing. That's right, I said it. She is his good thing, and they're gonna be on here with me. Team Swinton is gonna be in the house showing y'all how to make blended families work the right way. And then the Thursday Night Squad, of course, you know, y'all will come in and come up and add and lend and ask questions. Come prepared to have this conversation because we're going to keep it real and raw with y'all because it's possible. And then the following Thursday, guess who's coming back? Melvin Phillips with his book, I'm Divorced. But we're going to focus on the now what. And he's bringing some of the ladies with him that wrote the book. So July's lineup is going to be just as amazing and hot because we want you to get through it. We want you to have a good time at the barbecue, even if you're seeing your ex with his or her next. So thank you guys for tuning in again. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. If you haven't, please like, subscribe, and share. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for coming in on tonight, and we look forward to seeing you when next week, one more again, we're going to do what we do, how we do it. So have a good night, everybody. Hang in there, crew, and we'll see y'all next week. Good night.
Pushing me to progression like I'ma make the rest of my life. Yeah, I'ma make the rest of my life. I'm gonna make the rest of my life the best of my life. Yeah, I'ma make the rest of my life. I'ma make the rest of my life.